Hello, friends. Latara back here, and this is part two of our conversation with Dr. Will Harvey. I'm going to post them, I think, on the same day, so you guys
Okay.
watch them back to back. I'm not sure how I'm going to be titling the first video, but it's going to say at some point it's going to say part one, part two, and let's see how many videos we get. But I think it could be good though, because I know sometimes people don't have enough time to watch like an hour and a half video, right? Like right
Sure.
at once. So then maybe it's gonna be good. So
Mhm.
let's restart where we kind of broke a few minutes ago. So yeah, I was gonna ask you a question, right? Like when you were saying, yeah, about like us being open, right, in a relationship,
Mhm.
and those two parties, like a man and a woman, who is, as uh, if they have both baggage, right, and like well, how that dynamic works, and
Oh yeah, it's sure. It's not, and we could just kind of like jump in, but it's not being open. I think just gets sometimes commercialized or trivialized, but I cannot stress enough how truly empowering it can be. I mean, like I said, I know we're kind of doing this in two parts, so I will just kind of, hold up the book that I wrote that hopefully can help some people get through this. And please don't leave me. But truly, even doing this required a lot of me being open and vulnerable with other people. There are passages in here where I talk about suicide, where I talk about just simply not wanting to go on, some of the scars that I felt from childhood, during the marriage, the whole thing like that. And I can tell you, I mean, this point last year, I was not ready to talk about that
yes,
with
I
anyone,
feel you.
with anyone, barely myself, let alone family, friends that were reaching out, and thank God for those friends. But once I kind of learned to see the positive in being open and allowing myself to be vulnerable in new relationships, knowing that yes, it could be weaponized, yes, it could go south, but you know what? That is also part of life. And that's sometimes the joy of entering a new relationship and not letting vulnerability and openness and ultimately seeking what I want stop me from doing the things that I know are needed in a healthy relationship. And that is not easy. That took, first of all, that healing is still going. Just like you said, healing is a journey. Sometimes we may never reach the end. We just get a little bit closer to the destination. But for those that are willing to take the risk, there is a reward on the other side. It just takes doing the work and being true to yourself and what you want and what you'll allow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I was gonna tell you, look at you. Like how we said last year, you weren't able to talk about this with,
Not at all.
and now you're going public on the YouTube channel. Basically, a stranger. I know I only have like a few thousands of subscribers,
Hey, that's fine.
but you know what? I'm gonna expand very quickly, very soon. So like you will
Absolutely.
expect some, I call myself an activator of expansion because that's what happening. That's what usually what happens with people, and people come back to me. Like when I meet someone and they're ready, right, to receive that activation,
Hmm.
some magic starts. I can't fully explain how it works, but it does work. It's like people start, expanding energetically, mentally, start getting, I don't know, insights, opportunities, and so on. So I really, really hope that that's happening for you too. Abracadabra.
Absolutely.
Right. So
Absolutely.
I was gonna tell you thank you so much, and you do an amazing job, yeah, for sharing this ongoing,
Thank you as well.
story and vulnerability. As it turns out, it's a very powerful thing, I can say for
Mhm.
myself. And
Right.
just to rewind a little bit, yeah, for those of you guys, if you haven't watched part one of this conversation yet, today I am Latara White, and
Mhm.
I speak and sing the energy codes of unconditional love for healing and activation of people on earth. And I believe that's part of my purpose and of who I am, right? And today we are speaking with a very interesting and a guest that I really, really love to talk to. His name is Dr. Will Harvey. He's based in Maryland. And Dr.
Mhm.
Will Harvey is a healthcare executive. He's a researcher and he's an author. And he does work on the emotional impact of paternal abandonment, right? And the ways
Mhm.
it shapes how men love, trust, and build relationships. And as we mentioned in the part one of this video, if you haven't watched this the part one, guys, please go watch that because it has a lot of information, a lot of powerful energy and inspiration. and supportive thoughts for all of us, not only men, but women too, I believe. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I wanna really ask you a question since you
Sure.
wrote the book, right? So you wrote the book. The book is called "Please Don't Leave Me," guys,
Mhm.
and I'm going to, yeah, I'm gonna leave in
Mm,
the description box under this video
yeah.
and also in the pinned comment. I will have the links to the websites where you can purchase the book and also
Thank you.
the links to, Dr. Harvey's social media, Facebook, if you feel like you want to
Yep.
reach out, if even after you watch these videos and you really connect to Dr. Will's energy, I'm sure you're going to be happy, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of people, I don't want to interrupt you. You're in a great role here, but just to interject, like, yeah, so many people that, I mean, not just friends and family, but random strangers, which is one of the joys that I know you get to experience more often than I, have reached out talking about how this resonated with them and kind of asking my take on things and throwing out scenarios. And after I kind of came down from the high of just being so humbled by it, you kind of dive in and it's like this is an opportunity to help somebody, which I truly do love, not just as a nurse and a clinician, but like of course my time generally in healthcare, and it's been fantastic. So yes, yes, anyone who reaches out, like I said, as long as it'll take me, I will always try to help you if I can.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have all the links, and yeah, so just kind of to go back to the book, right? Your book is basically your part of your story. Like, what did you write? Is it like your personal
Yes.
story, or does it include more like a academic?
Absolutely. Thank you. For kind of for the ask it that way. So it's a little bit of both actually. You kind of describe those different sections of it. So like I mentioned in part one, this really initially started of like an expansion from my dissertation where I wanted to explain some of the deeper reasons why men who've been paternally abandoned approach relationships in a certain way. Like I said, trust issues, being vulnerable, that emotional detachment, self sabotage in relationships when things are going do well. You know, guys like me will just do anything to ruin the relationship. Talk about how masculinity sometimes can be a little bit of a toxic word or a misunderstood word, and then talk about how to break the cycle and then kind of rewrite your past. But after I got divorced last year, I kind of added to it in the sense that, like, well, okay, I've been alive as long as I've been alive, and I've, by definition, been abandoned by my father, and now been abandoned by my ex-wife. I need to scale this a little bit. I need to kind of come at this from a different angle because there are men and women too that have gone through similar. So when I kind of start into the book, it is starting to tell the story of kind of like the events of last year and going into the divorce. And then we kind of pivot into the larger wound, the father wound, as it's more commonly called in our circles, and how parts of those issues played into aspects that led into the divorce. Not completely, but partially. And as I go through each chapter talking about, again, emotional detachment, trust issues, vulnerability, I do back it up with science. At the end of the day, I am an academic and I don't want, not saying anybody would, but I don't want anybody necessarily to think, well, this guy's just free balling and talking about the events of last year.
Yeah.
Everything that I've said is rooted in deep social science. All the references are in there. They're 100% allowed to like look them up. But I kind of divide each chapter in talking about the story and some of the cues and giving advice to men and women, like men who are dealing with this, and those women and spouses that love them, to how to help them and maybe help themselves in a relationship. But each chapter from two to the end also is called What the Research Tells Us, right? So then I kind of just break down some of the research behind it in kind of small bite-sized parts, right? It's not that big of a book, to kind of guide you through what this is rooted in and what the science says about it. And then at the end, we kind of talk about some ways to truly help to heal. Like I said, you don't have to buy the book for me to tell you that therapy is big, right? Talking that I'm not a licensed therapist, but I'm always here to listen. I know you help more people than I have even thought to, and you've listened to good people, right? Journaling is a big thing, but like we talked about in part one, getting it out there is just one of the most empowering things you can do, as long as you can do it in a safe space in a constructive way.
Yeah, sharing
Yeah,
is not only caring, but healing, empowering, and loving to other people. Uh,
absolutely.
I have a question. So I know because
Yeah.
think like you're an academic and I'm not, right? So for those viewers who are, not into or not, they're not fully aware of these terms, like, for example, you say paternal abandonment, right? Can
Oh,
you
yes, yes.
give me, like examples, like very simple words, like example, like
Yes, yes, yes.
like how do I know, like when, well, like what, or what kind of behavior or reactions? Maybe give a few examples, like that could help
Absolutely.
me identify. Oh, hold on, like that's the father wound, like that's the father abandonment that the guy,
Abs
this guy is talking about.
Absolutely. So we'll touch on it first, and I'm glad you phrased it that way because sometimes we kind of throw these terms around and not everybody gets it. So paternal abandonment is just simply the understanding of a father, the patriarch paternal, abandoning their child. Now that could be man or woman, obviously. And that's not always in my case where I came into this world with just my mother and family members around the bedside and my dad was not there, but because his choice. But that could be a lot of different ways. Unfortunately, there are men who are maybe deployed overseas for years and years on end. That may not be always thought of abandonment. That person isn't physically in your life and is not necessarily there to help raise you. So whether they come back later in life, by definition, that is considered a form of abandonment. There's unfortunately men who are incarcerated who, have children and gone to jail. And unfortunately, there are men who have died prior to greeting their child coming into this world through necessarily no fault of their own or through something traumatic. All of those by definition, that is paternal abandonment, right? Different choices, different paths, but sometimes the wounds are the same. When you talk about some of the scars that formed through this, I mean, like we can break down anything that you want, but I think some of I think probably the one that was most probably poignant to people is when I talk about trust issues, right? The ability to, oh, sorry, I'm going to pause.
Yeah, your mic is disconnected. You're on mute.
There we go. Hopefully you can still hear me well. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Now you're back now. Yeah.
My apologies. So we're going to talk about like the trust issues part in the sense that when you think about abandonment and you think about a father leaving a child, inherently you put in that child's mind, well, okay, if my own father didn't stay, why would someone else stick around in a relationship? Now that's completely wrong, but that is the prevailing thought in a lot of people's heads. So when they enter a relationship, whether that's a strong friendship, whether that's a true pair bond, man, woman, man, man, woman, woman, or anything in between, they kind of think even when things are going good, why would this person stay? Right? My own father or mother, what have you, left without even knowing me, without even knowing the person that I am or would become. So why would this person, as I'm showing all of my good sides, we're going out on dates, things are happy, flowers are exchanged, why would this person stay? That typically is one of the first things that starts to ruminate in someone's mind who's been abandoned in the sense that things are a little bit too good. I don't know if I can fully trust this person because of my traumas from the past. And then that can lead into other things like self sabotage, in which we start picking fights or the jealousy comes out or they take a little too long texting. It's like, well, who are you texting? Like those kind of things that aren't rooted in anything but our own internal baggage and trauma and scars, right? So it's not always the root reason of those things, but for men and women who have been abandoned, that is what I found is it really at some of the core in it. They lack that self worth within
Yeah.
because of what happened in the past, and they outwardly project that upon their partners and in relationships in virtually every situation, from work to the bedroom.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
actually, when I feel it happens, like that unresolved abandonment trauma, like we start subconsciously creating, right, these issues and manifesting in the relationship.
absolutely,
Because
absolutely.
basically, we are pushing away that partner and we are creating this manifestation of abandonment trauma for ourselves,
You're
basically.
absolutely right.
Self,
Guilty of it.
self
Guilty of it myself a time or two. You're
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
right.
yeah. Me
Yeah.
too, me too. But I was
Mhm.
just kind of wanted to add a little note to what you said, like,
Yes.
that right abandonment, that trauma causes this thought in a person. I know for many people, these are subconscious patterns. Well, most people don't understand. They don't really, because I know for me, I was just sitting and thinking, well, if my dad almost walked towards me, like, I think, like, why would, it's a very
Yeah.
subconscious, quiet, very quiet voice
Correct.
back of your head that a
Yeah.
lot of people don't really understand. They don't really realize that it's there. It's just like
Hmm.
you just it's like out of the blue you just feel insecure, or you start asking, right, like your partners, oh, where have you been, or who's texting,
Yeah.
like it's kind of relates, it expresses itself in these behaviors or these actions, whether like not a, like kind of like shunning people, like
Mhm.
subconsciously, but because of that, but you don't really understand, like that's the actual cause, right? So this is
Yes,
why
indeed.
I feel like we need to be very self-aware and ask ourselves questions and go deeper. Because I realized for me, for example, right, our ego, the mind ego's job is to protect us from the pain. And it's
Mhm.
not gonna really like it's not really sitting there excited about us going in therapy, right? And really going deeper. Because I know for me and for many people, even if it's unpleasant, but to heal some pain and wounds internally, we got to go within and face them and actually live and feel them for a little bit. Some
Right.
people maybe longer or maybe one or more than one time. And it's not comfortable, it's not fun, and but we have to do it. We have to feel and release, right, that like blockage that is there, and understand and face a lot of different issues in order to move on. And our, I guess that's what the conditioning kind of comes in, right? Like this resistance, inner resistance of like, being going deeper, or like, going into therapy or something. But I really feel that this is why God invented books, because books are kind of, a very cheap
Yeah,
and
yeah,
reasonable way, right? Or like we can
correct.
YouTube videos, like people will watch maybe, right, you and me talking, and something will resonate, right? And this is how we kind of, right, help I think others. Like, we share, like you share your story, I share mine. And I know it can be helpful for people, like they, they'll hear you, and maybe they will, but like they, something will resonate in their story, but like with your story, and it's gonna help them understand, hey dude, like, oh, maybe that's the cause, like this is why. There is nothing wrong with me, right? Like this is not because of like
That's not
they're
correct.
like left me or whatever. Maybe he was there like my dad, right? But my dad wasn't there emotionally, right? He never told me. My father never told me I love you until I was like 37, and I kind of forced him to say it. So I know
Wow.
for me as a girl too, right? Like for a child, like you were saying about self-worth, the relationship with the father, it's very important for both girls and boys, right? And
Absolutely.
boys, I guess it's even more deeper, because it's kind of like, your gender, like, so if you're born in a male body, right, like your psyche, so you take a lot, right, like from that bond is especially powerful. But it's just a different dynamic, right? Like men
Right.
and sons and girls with their fathers. But I know it did hurt my self-worth too, because I wasn't, right, like feeling worthy of that, right, healthy harmonious relationship, right, with a man or something. Because like you said, like, my father never told me. I know that's what I thought. I decided when I was a kid that if my father didn't tell me that he loves me, then he doesn't love me. So I
Right.
had this belief, right, like I'm not loved by my dad. So
Mhm.
then when it caused me, for example, to do in my situation, in my relationships, like I would always, first of all, I was always attracting emotionally unavailable men, right? Like like my father, right? To
Mhm.
like iterate, to like continue the loop, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then, of course, like I was trying to look for their approval, right? Like people pleasing,
Exactly.
validating,
Yeah.
toxic behavior, their egocentrism and other stuff, right? Because that was my little girl, the inner child. Like she just wanted to be seen and heard and loved by her father.
Right.
And then until you realize, like, and start, right, like going deeper within yourself, like this thing will continue. Like it's just like another loop after another loop after another
All
loop.
right.
And this is why we are here today, I believe. And this is why I'm very grateful that you wrote your book, because I know for me, my, self-healing growth journey also started with books, right? Like I started watching
Oh, I
videos,
love to read. Yes.
reading, and like maybe if someone, like people who are not ready, maybe, right, like you said, like a year ago I wouldn't be talking to anybody, and now I'm like going public, right? It's a process, like it's a step-by-step journey. So
Yes.
well, I wanted to say to everyone watching us, either men or women, like whatever you are, if you recognize yourself or some patterns that Dr. Will is speaking about, or you resonate with part of my story, don't judge your stage, like wherever you are, right? Like it's no competition. And just because, like, we can talk about this openly, and you're just kind of realizing, or like, oh my God, like I'm not happy with my life, and maybe I should read, like start wherever you are, do whatever you
Mhm.
can, whatever you feel comfortable. That's the most important. And yeah, don't be shy. Like, I think books are a great way because, it's kind of like open public information. They can purchase it.
Absolutely.
And today, right, with our internet delivery, you don't even have to go to a store. You can have it delivered right away by Amazon or whatever to your, door. And then people can read, right, and then take it from there. So that's, I think, like what I'm really feeling to say right now, that yeah, don't be shy to reach out, and don't be right now when you feel this resistance, like I feel like, yeah, maybe I want to read the book, I want to reach out to this guy, like, or whatever, but like, like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, like resistance shows up in different way. Oh, I don't have the money. Guys, I'm
Right.
telling you, best investment is in ourselves, like literally.
Absolutely. Well said. Yes,
Yeah, do
100%.
whatever you can, and especially like this is what I know for me. It's like I'm not happy. Why am I not happy? Ask myself some questions. And I know for me, sometimes speaking of like right about the defense mechanisms, right? The mind puts
Hmm.
up, and why I think right therapy and other like allowing others right to come in and hold space and assist us is very important, because going deeper into your own pain, it's not easy, and sometimes it's
Yeah,
very hard or impossible to do all alone. You just
right.
physically, psychologically, you can't do it. So this is why I believe, people like you, right, Dr. Will, and
Uh,
therapists and other right counselors or energy healers, like whatever your modalities, and authors, right, like you guys come in. So because it brings a lot of
uh-huh.
value, I believe, right, for people like
It
that.
does. It does 100%. I want to touch on a few points. One about the books. One of the reasons, I mean, all mediums to get these things out and to be vulnerable and to put in the work. I mean, anything worth having is worth working hard for, including your own emotional stability. I enjoy like the book aspect too because you're an avid reader too. It's like you can go on your own self-guided journey, right? You can take your time when you read a book. You can put it down when it gets a little too heavy, and when you calm down, you can pick it
Yes.
back up, and then when you're ready, you can take the leap and do in-person therapy, or now they got the telehealth, the whole kind of thing. To what you said before, and I know we mentioned in part one, where this time last year, I was not ready to even embark on this journey or to talk about it, but I had to eventually put in the work. I mean, I'll share something with your audience that I may repeat, in kind of other mediums. I can honestly sit here and tell you and look you in the virtual eye that every single day from July 9th, 2024 till the end of 2024, there wasn't one day that I didn't cry.
Oh,
Every single, and I'm not saying that for like sympathy or listen, it's just because I was so emotionally hurt. And I mean that doesn't even seem like a strong enough word, like damaged, broken, because once you finally there is something cathartic in recognizing why you're hurt. And once you do that and start to put those pieces of the vase back together, that's when you can heal. That's when you can pick up a book, start engaging in therapy, talk to somebody, and ideally turn that vulnerability that always haunted you in the back of your shoulder and like became something negative into a positive. So that's probably one of the biggest messages. I know you preach it a lot, and you're talking about being vulnerable and being open. But to paraphrase James Baldwin, everything that is faced can't be fixed, but nothing can be fixed until it's faced, right?
yeah.
So we have to be able to stand up and look ourselves in the mirror and ultimately decide, do we want to be better people? Do we want to do better for ourselves and for our partners? And if the answer is yes, well, then let's put in the work and let's do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
crying is a big part of healing. Once you start,
absolutely, absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
it's a big sign that you start, right. Like, sorry, I have to open the door for my maintenance guy, but yeah, yeah, yeah. It's. I wanted to tell congratulations to you
Thank you.
that you allowed yourself to cry for 6 months or however long that was, and
It was a while. Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, like people say, talking about masculinity, right? How it's
Hmm.
there's a lot of distortions about what true masculinity and femininity is right nowadays, and going back to that distorted version, right, of the old times that if you're a man, you got to be always stoic and strong and blah blah blah. I think it takes, for me, I've always seen it. It takes so much balls as a man to go to allow yourself to cry, and then to go on YouTube, especially,
Hey.
cry, or like say, like for me it takes much more when I see a man who allows himself to cry, especially in the presence of a woman. I know
Mhm.
some men, some of my male friends, they used to tell me, well, I'm not gonna, like, I was like, we had a conversation, right, and he's like, well, and I told him, like, well, I'm a powerful healer, like, why didn't you reach out to me? I was like, well, I'm a man. How am I supposed to like tell you and complain about my issues? So he saw it as complaining. How am I gonna complain, especially to a woman? It's something
Hmm.
like a big no, no, right? And he's mine.
Yeah,
And I'm like, dude, you're not complaining, you're sharing.
yeah,
So for me,
exactly.
in his eyes, look, see, like also coming from a Russian background,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's cultural. Maybe there are people in different countries like that.
No, I'll interject. I think part of that is that men feel sometimes, I mean, granted, there's that risk of vulnerability and all the other stuff that we just talked about, but there is something that's not always talked about that sometimes, I think this is men and women alike, but men that I've talked to, sometimes we feel that when we're sharing, we're burdening the other person. And
Yeah,
I think part of it is rooted in like our fathers or whomever didn't want us. They looked at, we are in our head are putting that as, they looked at us as a burden. They looked at
yeah,
our physical being, our pure presence on this planet as a burden. So
yeah,
why would I share anything? I
yeah,
had a bad day today. I didn't like my lunch. Anything. Why would I share any of that with another human being? Because the person that was supposed to love me unconditionally thought that my physical presence on this planet was a burden. And we got to break through that. But a lot of that is rooted on just not wanting to burden people, despite them sometimes begging you to share.
yeah.
We're just like, no, I don't. I'll just keep it inside, and
Yeah.
it withers us from the inside.
I know this feeling, and I think it kind of also, if you look back, these are like ramifications and consequences. But if you go
Mhm.
back to the root, is the same kind of abandonment trauma. Because if he left me physically, then I'm a burden, or something
Right,
like. And it
right,
can be. I know for me, I felt that like, well, I'm not going to be a burden to you. My feelings are a burden. Well, because like if my father or my mother and or both like never really cared for what I feel, like they were not there to support me, right? Like they were always
yeah,
being there was like I could feel when I was growing up, I could feel physically and like subconsciously, like kids, we feel our parents' energy. We like even if they don't talk to us, but we pick up a lot, right, in our subconscious mind from just the in climate, the environment, in the house. Or like I know for sure, like when my mom would come home, right, tired, like from her job, but she had to do everything herself because my father wouldn't lift a finger, cleaning, helping. No, he was a completely total patriarchal, distorted, toxic male kind of husband, which is
gotcha.
not his fault. This is how he was raised, by my late grandfather. But that didn't mean like my mom, she was completely abandoned as well. Like so she had to do everything herself on the house, raise two kids, and have a full-time job, right? So it's very so I know like me as a daughter, like a child, like I would feel, right? Like I wouldn't go with my feelings when I was like, I had a bad day, let's say the kindergarten, but like when I go to my mom, I just feel her like exhaustion and she was
Hmm.
frustrated and angry. So I'm like, right, like I go and I start crying and say, Mom, like this and that. I could, I was made clear that I'm a bird because she didn't have energy. She didn't just she wasn't
All
physically
right.
to like right and emotionally. She was so tired and she would like, just go away, do your homework and shut up, kind of like.
No, yeah,
So, like then I wouldn't feel, so again, like all these things, I believe they all are rooted very deeply back in the childhood and also,
absolutely.
um, so
And
like,
then real quick about the point of the mother, which I think we all kind of have a little bit of the scars, but one of the things in not only writing the book, but in doing the research that I don't know if I fully, everybody's circumstance is obviously different, but one thing I didn't fully appreciate is obviously growing up and especially through adolescence where I was just, I mean, angry isn't even the right word at like my father. And there was plenty of times that when eventually we would connect, I would lash out, but I never really stopped. It really didn't dawn on me until an adult that at that time, my mother was hurting too. My mother also had been abandoned. Like that really never even really entered my mind until
yeah,
adulthood. And it's like, well, yeah. And then she's trying to play the role of two people and raise a son with no experience in doing so, right? I was the first kiddo, and all these other kind of things that, not asking an 8-year old to understand, but there's a newfound appreciation as an adult that, everybody has different relationships with their mothers or whoever
yeah.
actually stuck in their life. But it took reconciling all that to kind of understand a little bit of what she went through in that abandonment journey as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
just want to add a little point here, just
Yeah.
for those of us like you, right? When we grow up and we start, like it's hitting us as adults. Uh,
Hmm.
I used to feel guilty because of that. Like, oh, I shouldn't have seen it sooner as a child. Like, please,
Hmm.
guys, like forgive yourselves and don't feel guilty, don't feel bad
Hmm.
because you didn't see it, you didn't appreciate. Because I know some of my male friends told me that they were very angry, like you said, but they expressed anger and or resentment right towards their moms when they were teenagers but not
Hmm.
realizing right and then now they're grown up and they realize and they're like, oh, I feel so bad. Like you were a child or teenager or whatever, right? So that version of you was not designed psychologically, was not ready to process, to
Not
understand.
at all.
So I
Not
just
at
want
all.
to make sure, like whoever, right, like for
Yeah.
viewers,
That's
like
a good point.
don't feel guilty. Do not feel bad. Just forgive yourself. Forget, like, forgive whoever you're ready to forgive, like, and let it go because it doesn't
Uh,
serve anybody. It doesn't serve you. You were feeling like a burden. Now, if you're gonna feel like guilty also because of that, that's like all of this low frequency, destructive.
it adds to the cycle too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Want to get stuck in guilt. Oh my God, I should have
Hmm.
seen. Well, you were a kid and your mom did the best that she could, and you did the best that
Absolutely.
And I always say this, especially like being spiritual, right? Like if you look at it as a spiritual metaphysical perspective, right? We are souls, like we come here, right? We are born here, and the spiritual level, we always remember like why we're here, like in this particular body, and why we chose. Like on the soul level, we believe that we choose, right? We know that this is what's going to happen, right? So your mom, right? Like when she gave birth to you and she raised you, right? Like she trusted her journey, right? So
Hmm.
like on the soul level, this is why, right, like you came in, I believe, like you play a big role for your ancestry, right? Because I'm not sure if you guys are aware, for those of you who are not, whatever healing you do on yourself, you not only heal the future generations, you also help heal on the energetic level subconsciously all your relatives, like it's kind of like you help
Hmm.
your mother, right? Like maybe in something in her mind will
Yeah.
change, right? Like you shift the whole future and the whole fate of your whole lineage, like whatever
Yeah.
you do. I just want to kind of point out because I notice for me too, like people think, oh, I'm doing my healing work. Yeah, of course you do it for you because you want to be happy, right?
Of
And you
course.
want, like, you don't want your kids whenever whether you have them or you don't have them yet, or even if you don't plan any children, right? Like you want your future to be different than your past, right? But
Absolutely.
we're not only doing it for ourselves on individual level. Whatever you do, we shift the story of the entire, ancestry tree. And even if we don't see this, like, but I've seen it, for example, in my life, right? Like I'll go through some healing, right? And then like out of the blue, I'll hear from this third cousin on my mom's side that, he had some realization, or he broke up with a toxic girlfriend that everybody was telling him to break up, but he never did. So
Hmm.
it may seem unconnected, but I'm telling you,
No.
it is because
Yeah. Absolutely.
like that, and like we are all together and we share physically this, like we are connected through our body, through our blood, through our DNA to all our relatives, no matter, even if it's 0.1% connection, we can affect and we influence each other. And we're literally on the quantum physics, we are all one, like every human being, right? Like we are all connected to this, I call it like the neural network, right, of this
Hmm.
collective subconsciousness, and all these beliefs and trauma, right? Like we also get a lot of influence from there. So imagine like you healed your stuff, like I heal, and like we clear all this collective field, which also creates this invisible ripple effect, which it sounds very, like mainstream and people notice, say it all the time, but we actually physically, literally do create a ripple, like domino effect. When
Sure.
the more you heal and the more you share your frequency in a new way and your energy and spread the word, like, someone reads your book and then they went on, maybe they will go on to become a therapist or a counselor, and then they help other people who you will never know. You know what I mean? And even just
Absolutely.
being physically, right, born on this planet, like we are all, our subconscious mind, individual subconscious minds are all connected, making up this big network, like collective subconscious. So the more we heal and let go of that, we literally clear the field for other people, right? It becomes easier to them to be aware, right? Like, or like they have less resistance. I always keep thinking about that butterfly effect, movie or whatever,
Hmm.
and it seemed far
Yeah.
when I was a kid and I watched it, but As I work with energy, see, like I have a little bit of gift of seeing the unseen sometimes. So I literally see this, like if you can see the waves, like the frequency of the earth is literally physically changing because we are doing the work. And
Sure.
sometimes because we don't really have this perspective, but my higher self, she always has like big scale visions. So I want to just kind of underline this because I think people don't always realize how like your individual story, right? For example, Dr. Will, like your healing and your journey not
Hmm.
only helps directly people, right, through your books or through your speaking engagements or whatever you choose to do, right, in the
Hmm.
future, but it also adds up to that collective subconscious clearing, to that collective subconscious healing. And I guarantee that there is a one woman in Brazil one day tomorrow, she will wake up, you will have no idea, you know what I mean? Because I
Right.
like, when you have this like a little bit of clairvoyance kind of things, I've seen this happen, and it's not like we call this a miracle, but it's literally just quantum physics, and we all are spirit, and we're all connected, and we're all one, right? So this why, right, like we resonate with some people, and we come together, and we are
Sure.
today, right? But I just want to make sure. I feel like I don't know. I just really feel this is coming very strongly to
Of
really
course.
like to I want to make sure that people are aware like what kind of impact you each individual person with taking small steps towards their own healing and happiness. It clears the bloodline, it helps other relatives, it helps other people, it helps the collective on earth in general. And
Hmm.
I want to kind of probably finalize here because yeah, we have like about 5 to 7 minutes left.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah.
I don't really want to keep you, although
No.
for me, I really enjoy talking to you, and I would listen to
Yeah,
you
same
forever.
here. Same
Maybe,
here.
yeah, yeah, you guys. So just to finalize, yeah, today was this was a part two of our conversation with my guest, Dr. Will Harvey.
Hmm.
He recently wrote a book called "Please Don't Leave Me," which is he shares his own story about how he left. Not very happy marriage and how
Hmm.
he is healing his own abandonment trauma, because of the father loss. And he is
Hmm.
a healthcare professional and an author, and just a very, I believe, very kind and powerful and inspiring, and I can say loving human being because,
Thank
I love
you.
energy. And this is part two of the video. Please go back to part one if you haven't
Yes.
watched it. And yes, we discussed, about abandonment trauma and how it shapes our lives, our relationships, and how we can, for example, in his book, right, Dr. Will spoke about how the book can help men or, people who are in relationship with someone who is going through healing of their abandonment trauma, how, we can help each other, and how, like different, what research says and so on. Guys, I want to get the fucking book because it's gonna, I don't want to like, I think it's a very good investment. And
Thank
I
you.
know I feel it's going to be very powerful for many people, right? So just wanted to conclude saying that I am personally very, very grateful for you, Dr. Will,
Yes.
and
Likewise.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so courageous and brave, to accept my invitation to
Of
come up
course.
here and publicly, right, on YouTube, share your story and give some
Sure.
powerful advice. And I think what you shared is gonna bring clarity and I think a lot of assistance to many people. And I'm really happy that we have men like you, generally people like you, but specifically men. I'm really happy as a woman to see how men are really starting to step into their power more and more, right? Letting go of their
Hmm.
own conditioning, being brave to start to be vulnerable. I know, reaching out, researching, like doing like self-awareness work,
Absolutely.
not just being stuck, right, in the old conditioning that make them, be, egocentric, or like live in a distorted masculinity, right? Beliefs that were imposed on us by, society and so on, like our culture, our traumas,
Yeah.
our wars. And there is, of course, so much to say and discuss. And I wanted to let you guys know, please let me know in the comments, reach out if you found this helpful and useful. And if you want to see Dr. Will again, I like talking, so we can arrange this,
Just let us know. Let us know.
yeah, let us know. I'll be glad to bring him on. And yeah, I was gonna say again, guys, as part, if you haven't watched part one, watch the part one. I'm gonna leave the links to the websites, right, where you can purchase Dr. Will's book called Please Don't Leave Me, right? And find out more and help yourself. And maybe it's going to help you with in your relationships about, abandonment trauma, paternal, and how to deal with that and what the science says and what the science is behind it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm also gonna leave your Dr. Will's social media links, right? If you want to reach out, also in the pinned comment and the
Okay.
description box. Yes, please watch both videos. I hope you find them useful and reach out to him directly, via the links, right? Contact him if you have any questions. And yeah, we were speaking. I'm gonna have a next guest, which is a mutual friend. His name is Dr.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful individual. So I wanna conclude by saying thank you so much again. I hope to see many other men like you to be vulnerable and to step into their power and to go public with their
Yes, of course.
to inspire. And I wanted to ask you if you can, maybe you have like a few final words or,
Absolutely. Well, first, kind of like I started to say, like, one, truly thank you for kind of not just hosting, but creating this space. It's not easy for people to be vulnerable. So any type of platform where people can actually feel safe and empowered to do so, I think we should cultivate and shout these spaces from the rooftops. But probably my biggest thing, we talked about it maybe a few minutes ago before we started to close, is and talking about the benefits of helping yourself so that you can help others. You kind of put it in like a familial context, but truly, that was something that I was kind of told by, my grandparents where it was like, you cannot help your others until you help yourself, right? And I don't think I understood that or appreciated that when I was younger. Now that I'm older and gone through a couple of traumas, then, yeah, I don't think, just like we talked about, wasn't in a space to do this a year ago, and I'm grateful for that now. So I guess the final message, if you will, there's plenty, is that there are so many great benefits to working on yourself and working through your issues for not just, like you said, not just for the betterment of yourself, which is vitally important, but so that you can help those around you, so that you can repair old wounds, so that you can strengthen old relationships, so that you can be open enough to make great new relationships. It all starts by kind of taking what's or taking care of what's in here. So there is one final message. I will make it that.
I love it. Fill your cup first and then you share out of abundance with others, right? This is what
Beautiful. Yeah,
inspire,
absolutely.
lead by example and share out of abundance. Like remember, guys, I think that's important, right? To say like we remember how you said before the hurt people. Yeah,
Yep.
that's the thing. Like we cannot give love and and healing to others. We cannot share what we don't have within. So we gotta take care of our own vessel, right? Energetic emotion as human being. Like make sure I am what I want to be, and then out of that healthier and more abundant, right? Space we can hold space for others and we can inspire others and share and and help others, right? And do it not out of a old wounded space, right? But
Hmm.
from a better
From a
place.
new healed space.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah, I guess so. That's it for real now, guys. For real. Now we're saying bye for sure. Yeah. So thank you so much for staying with us. Yeah,
Of
guys,
course.
please come and let me know if you have any questions and if you have any specific topics that you would like me to have conversations here about. Maybe if you want me to channel or bring any other male guests. I am planning to bring at least two more male awake, conscious, powerful, beautiful, inspiring divine masculines, for the conversations like this on my channel. And thank you, Will, for being number one today. You
Always.
open the door, you open the space. I think it's gonna be I hope it's gonna be very powerful. And I really
No, I know it will be.
yeah, yeah, just to
This
finish.
is great.
Thank you so much for your time
Thank you so much.
and I wanted to say that I really feel for you like a lot of great things are going to come in your future. And I think I know I told you that on my phone call, but I definitely feel this energy for you, like what you're doing, right? Like it's kind of like you're being that role model for the community and for other men. And I'm looking forward. I cannot wait to see what other kick-ass stuff you're gonna produce. And
Thank you.
thank you so
No,
much.
that means a lot.
A true leader and a true, I think I call them the true royals, true royal men who are not those with titles, but are those who, lead with their heart and not afraid to, be themselves and be authentic and be vulnerable. So thank you so much. Thank you, my
I
divine
appreciate it.
masculines, ladies. take example, right? You're looking for a partner, you know, watch these videos because I
There we go.
get inspired, right? And let's take care of ourselves first and then help each other, right? Okay, guys. Love
Thank
you.
you. Thanks for all your help that you
Guys,
do.
stay
Thanks,
tuned for
Sarah.
my new videos.
See you guys. All right.